In this video, we will share how to interpret individual student diagnostic reports generated by Socrates. On a given day, a student score can be impacted by a number of reasons. Example, skills, knowledge, stamina, strategies, confidence, distractions, and others. Socrates diagnostic reports helps you understand and triangulates the reason for student performance and identify the areas of improvements to create the most optimal study plan. To generate diagnostic reports, visit socrato.com. Log into your account. Once logged in, go to the Reports tab, click on the results, select the group in which you have the reports created, find the student and the corresponding results, and click on Generate Report. The report will be downloaded and will be saved on computer hard drive. The report is in PDF format. It can be emailed, viewed on a screen, or printed for offline review. For SAT and ACT test, the PDF reports are 5 pages or 6 pages long. The first page gives the big picture of student preparedness, the practice history, and some high-level trends. The page 2 gives you the detailed analysis and diagnostic insight for the current practice test for which you generated the report. From page 3 onward, one page is dedicated to an individual subject of the exam. For SAT, it will have math, critical reading, and writing, and for ACT, an additional section of science will be there. The diagnostic report provides following graphs and analysis. Learning history and trends. This is mostly on page 1 of reports. Current test skills and diagnostic analysis. Subject area performance and test taking tendencies of student. Page 1 of diagnostic report shows the big picture and trends for student preparedness. At very top is performance summary. In this, we have the scores for each section and the total points as well as the point lost in each section. Just below the performance summary is the practice history. It's the history of all practice tests that a student has completed and for which the results were entered in Socrates. At the bottom of the table, there is also the best scores for each practice score to give an idea of what's possible. The performance by difficulty graph shows the percentage of correct questions for each of the practice session. 1 is the easiest level and 5 is the most difficult level of questions. Typically, the percentage accuracy will drop as the difficulty level increases. The confidence history graph on the right side is an interesting graph. It requires that a student take a 30-second survey just before they start the practice test. They are also required to take the same survey after they have completed the test but before they get their actual score. The pre and post survey will be plotted against the actual score of student. This gives a good gauge if the student understands the scoring mechanism of the test and if they are over or under confident about their preparedness. Typically, the gap in pre and post score versus the actual score reduces as the student gets better understanding of test and their abilities. If the instructor wants to leave any personal notes or comments in the report, they will show up in the notes area. At the bottom of the page 1 are some of the abbreviations which are used in report. The page 2 of the report analyzes the current practice test in detail. The top 2 graph identifies where, how many points, and why student is losing points. Plus, it also visualizes how important each area is. The point cost by question type graph gives detail and insight into where and how many points are lost. Example 1 is able to quickly see that a student lost 80 points in reading section sentence completion area. The performance by question type graph on the right side gives the insight into why the student lost 80 points and how important and big that area is. The length of the bar equates to the importance, and the red and gray color shows if a student is wrong or omitted the question. Performance by section graph shows the student performance in the test over time. This provides insight into student stamina or tiredness factor. Many times, student performance will drop in the latter part of the test, which indicates that the student is getting tired after a couple of hours and they need to practice for stamina. Answer distribution graph provides insight into question reading tendencies of student. This graph calculates the expected number of correct answer choices for all the questions in test. It then compares it against the actual responses by the student. Many times, a student will read first couple of choices and will mark A or B as the answer choice. This indicates that the student is not reading all the options and marks the first response which feels good enough, or they are guessing. The subject area and question type analysis does little bit more number crunching. The key information in this table is already shown above in the graph, but if one wants to further look into the details, the information is available over here. The next 3 pages gives the details of the individual subjects. 1 page each for reading, writing, and math. Let's look at the math section. At the top left, there is the summary of the score. This helps so that one doesn't have to flip over the pages to look at the numbers and the question counts. By difficulty graph analyzes all the math questions across all 3 sections of math and creates a summary. Again, 1 is the easiest question and 5 is the most difficult. The pre and post confidence survey by a student for math against the actual score is shown over here. On the left hand side is the responses list. This shows all the responses given by the student in all the sections of math. The wrong responses are shown in red color and the actual responses are shown with the response given by the student. Each question difficulty level as well as the categorization is also shown over here. If you see a lot of omitted question towards the end of each section, that's an indicator that the student is running out of time and he or she need to practice for speed. If you see a lot of scattered questions, scattered red and missing questions, it means a student need to work on certain topics. The performance by topic graph helps one triangulate and pinpoint exactly the topics that the student need to focus. This graph has a topic map in a hierarchical structure. This is very similar to chapters and topics in a book. On right side, the length of the bar indicates the number of questions in that topic. The color red, green, gray indicate if the response is generated were right, wrong, or omitted by student. In this example, the student has no issues in the data statistics and probability chapter. They have issues in the slopes area, in geometry and measurement. They also have issues in system of equations. And similarly, few topics in the numbers and operations. This graph helps you quantify the hours of study required and how the effort will help student. Socrato diagnostic reports help you triangulate the reasons and create the most optimal study plan to get the best results for the study effort. If you have further questions, you can get more detailed information about reports at help.socrato.com or contact us at support@socrato.com.